The radio light glowed red as laughter spilled from the studio. Somewhere in Medellin, Pablo Escobar listened, jaw still, guards waiting, the city holding its breath for what silence would decide. The red light burns above the studio door. On air. The colonel leans back in his chair, uniform pressed, voice relaxed. He knows people are listening, taxi drivers, shop owners, mothers in kitchens. Men with guns they pretend not to have. He smiles as he speaks, letting confidence do the work. He says Pablo Escobar's name like it is small, like it belongs to a joke. Laughter follows, not loud. Comfortable, safe laughter. The kind that assumes protection. Across Medellin, radios hum. In a narrow office above a warehouse, Pablo Escobar stands still. The room smells of paper, coffee, gun oil. He does not move closer to the radio. He does not need to, he listens. The colonel keeps talking. He talks about order, about authority, about how the city is tired of being afraid. He mocks the idea of invisibility. He suggests Escobar is running out of places to hide. 5 men watch Pablo's face. They know better than to speak. They watch his eyes instead. Calm, focused, almost bored. The radio fills the silence between them. The colonel crosses a line he cannot see, not with a threat, with disrespect. He turns power into entertainment. He forgets that humiliation travels faster than bullets. Pablo reaches out and turns the volume down slightly. Not off, never off. He thinks about timing, about audience, about how public words demand public answers. This is not rage. This is accounting. A man clears his throat behind him. Pablo raises one finger. The room freezes again. Outside, Medellin moves like it always does. Buses grind gears. Vendors shout prices. Children run between parked cars. No one knows they are standing inside a moment that will be remembered. On the radio, the colonel laughs once more. He sounds untouchable. Pablo finally speaks. Quiet, measured. Who's with him? No one answers immediately. Loyalty is not a reflex. It is a calculation. Pablo waits. He allows the pause to do its work. Names are offered carefully. Allies, superiors, politicians who smile in public and call at night. Pablo listens, nodding once. The colonel signs off. Music replaces his voice. The city exhales, thinking the moment has passed. It hasn't. Pablo walks to the window. Medellin stretches below him, dense and obedient, unaware of how closely it is being watched. He does not hate the colonel. Hate is loud, temporary. This is about balance. He turns back to the room. His voice is low, almost gentle. An instruction, not an outburst. Something short. Something that will travel faster than the joke ever did. The men lean in. Pablo chooses his words carefully. Night arrives without ceremony. No sirens, no sudden movement, just phones lighting up in dark rooms. Pablo sits at a small table, paperwork spread neatly. Numbers, names, routes. The radio sits silent now, pushed aside like a finished conversation. He prefers it this way. Noise confuses people. Silence reveals them. He does not raise his voice when he speaks. He never has to. Find out who laughed, he says. The instruction moves outward in layers. One man leaves, then another. Each understands a different part of the city, neighborhoods, barracks. Offices where uniforms come off and favors begin. No one asks why, they already know. This is not punishment yet. This is measurement. A call comes in. Pablo listens without interrupting. A police captain, nervous, eager to sound useful. He explains that the colonel was improvising, that it was meant for morale, that the government cannot be seen bending. Pablo thanks him and hangs up. Morale is for people who lack leverage. Another call. A politician this time. Softer voice. More careful words. He speaks about elections, about optics, about how violence would complicate things. Pablo lets him finish. You were listening too, Pablo says calmly. The line goes quiet. That silence is the real answer. Pablo looks at the men in the room. These are not soldiers. They are managers. They understand that loyalty bought with money expires. Loyalty bought with fear renews itself daily. Still, fear must be precise. A map is unrolled, Medellin in sections. Pablo traces a finger along familiar streets. He does not plan chaos. Chaos invites heroes. He plans interruption, delay, absence. Control works best when people don't know who to complain to. Reports come back slowly. The colonel has friends, he has enemies. He has protection that exists mostly on paper. His confidence was borrowed, not owned. Pablo exhales, almost a smile. He considers the colonel's mistake, not the insult, the assumption. He spoke as if power only lived in offices and microphones, as if the city belonged to the state by default. Pablo knows better. Power lives where decisions are obeyed without explanation. He gives another instruction. Smaller, narrower, it will not make headlines. It will be felt in schedules missed, in doors that do not open, in radios that suddenly go quiet when certain names are mentioned. By midnight, the city has begun to adjust its posture. People don't know why, they only know something has shifted. Pablo stands and straightens his jacket. The night is calm, too calm for anyone paying attention. This is how dominance is applied. Not all at once, just enough. Morning brings uniforms back into the streets, pressed shirts, polished boots, a performance of control. Pablo watches from a distance. He always does. The state likes visibility. He prefers results. Inside government buildings, voices lower. Phones are answered more carefully. The colonel arrives to work on time, but something is different. Doors close a little faster. Conversations end when he enters. Confidence once spent is hard to replace. Pablo receives updates without asking for them. Road checkpoints delayed. Paperwork stalled. Fuel deliveries rerouted. None of it illegal enough to protest. All of it effective. This is where the state shows itself. Officials speak of authority but rely on routine. Pablo disrupts routine and watches authority wobble. The colonel makes calls. Some go unanswered. Others end with reassurances that sound thin. On the radio, the tone changes. Names are avoided. Jokes disappear. The laughter from the night before is replaced with formality, distance, care. Pablo notices. He always notices. A message reaches him through intermediaries. The colonel wants to clarify. He did not mean disrespect. He was speaking broadly, for the public, for morale. Pablo considers the word again. Morale is what you offer when you cannot offer safety. He does not respond. Response would imply equality. Instead, he allows the colonel to wait. Waiting does things to men trained to command. In the city, people adjust their behavior. Shop owners close earlier. Drivers choose longer routes. Mothers turn radios down when news voices rise. Fear does not announce itself. It settles. Pablo meets with a lawyer in the afternoon. The man speaks about extradition, about pressure from abroad, about how appearances matter now more than ever. Pablo listens patiently. Appearances, he repeats. The lawyer nods, relieved to be agreed with. Pablo dismisses him moments later. By evening, the colonel understands something has gone wrong, not publicly, quietly. The kind of wrong that cannot be fixed with a statement or an arrest. He mocked a man who does not need applause. Pablo stands near another window as the city darkens again. Medellin looks peaceful from above. Lights scattered like promises. The state still exists. Flags still fly. Radios still broadcast. But everyone knows now where the pause came from. And who controls its length. The city does not wake up. It listens. Medellin moves slower that day as if sound itself has weight. Radios stay low. Conversations drift toward safer subjects. Names are swallowed before they reach the air. Pablo does not need to be seen for this to happen. Presence is not physical. It is remembered. From barrios to business districts, people sense the restraint tightening. Not checkpoints, not gunfire, absence, delays. small refusals that feel coordinated but cannot be proven. A bus driver misses his route, a shop owner cannot get supplies, a radio producer receives a call advising a change in programming. No threats, no signatures, just understanding. Fear spreads best when it is shared quietly. Pablo receives reports in fragments. He hears them without reaction. This is not escalation. This is confirmation. The city still responds to pressure. That matters. A young lieutenant visits the colonel's office. He closes the door, speaks carefully, suggests caution, suggests silence. The colonel bristles, then hesitates. Authority is eroding in real time. Pablo imagines the man's face, the confusion, the anger, the slow realization that his words traveled further than his power. In the streets, people argue about what will happen next. Some expect violence. Others insist nothing will come of it. Both are wrong. The most effective control does not announce consequences. It lets imagination do the work. Pablo meets with trusted men as evening falls. They talk logistics, not emotion. Who is still solid? Who sounds uncertain? Who is suddenly unreachable? Loyalty shifts in moments like this, not because of money, because people want to stand near the side that feels inevitable. Pablo reminds them to stay restrained. Excess draws attention. Attention creates unity. Unity creates resistance. Calm keeps people divided. Night settles over Medellin again. The city is intact. No explosions, no funerals. Just tension stretched thin and humming beneath the surface. Pablo sits alone for a while. He understands cities. They remember who scares them and who protects them. Sometimes the same person does both. The colonel goes home uneasy. His radio is off. His confidence is gone. He senses he has become a reference point, an example. Pablo allows that thought to mature. Nothing explodes. That is the point. Pablo wakes early. The city is quiet in the way that follows understanding. He reviews updates while drinking coffee. Each one confirms the same thing. Compliance without confrontation. This is the shape of real power. The colonel tries again, not publicly, through channels that used to work. A request becomes a favor becomes a plea. Pablo hears about it secondhand and says nothing. Silence is not indecision. It is instruction. In government offices, meetings are postponed. Files sit untouched. Orders wait for signatures that never come. No one can explain why progress feels risky, only that it does. Pablo gives one final direction, precise, limited. It will be noticed only by those who matter. A pause in protection, a brief uncertainty around the colonel's movements, enough to remind him what confidence was built on. Then Pablo pulls back. Control is proven not by how much damage you do, but by how easily you can stop. The city adjusts again. Relief mixes with caution. People realize the restraint was intentional. That realization deepens the fear more than violence ever could. On the radio, a different voice speaks that evening, respectful, careful. The colonel is not mentioned, neither is Pablo. Everyone hears the omission. Pablo listens for a moment, then turns it off. He has said enough. Time moves forward, but it does not reset. Weeks pass. The city resumes its rhythm. Traffic thickens. Music returns to the radios. Laughter sounds safer now, but it carries memory with it. Medellin does not forget pauses like that. The colonel remains in uniform, officially unchanged. Unofficially diminished. His voice is careful now. His jokes disappear. He speaks with approval in mind, measuring each sentence before releasing it. Power has taught him a lesson it does not repeat. Pablo watches the long effects, not the moment itself. He knows fear fades unless it leaves structure behind. What matters is what people learned. They learned that authority can be interrupted. They learned that silence can arrive on command. They learned that mocking power is more dangerous than confronting it. Pablo does not celebrate. Celebration invites reckoning. Instead, he folds the incident into a larger pattern. Another example, another layer in the myth he never openly builds, just outcomes, just memory. In private, some justify it. They say the colonel was arrogant, that the state provoked what it could not control. Others say nothing at all. Silence becomes agreement. Pablo understands the cost. Control like this corrodes everything. Loyalty becomes transactional. Fear replaces trust. The city grows accustomed to bending before it understands why. That decay is the price of inevitability. Years later, people will argue about moments like this, whether it was necessary, whether it went too far, whether it could have ended differently. But in this moment, none of that matters. What remains is simple. A city learned how quickly laughter can disappear. A state learned how fragile performance is. And Pablo Escobar reinforced what he had always believed. Power does not need to shout. It only needs to be remembered.